Hi, boys and girls. As you can see, I have an assistant here. Here's Julia.
Hi.
She's joining us for our drawing lesson, our nature study lesson, and she will also read the next chapter in A Nest for Celeste. So the drawing today will be in your nature study journal. So you want to get your journal and go to the next clean page and write the shortcut date, and that will be 3-18-20.
2020.
And we are going to draw some signs of spring. Now, boys and girls, I am so excited. I saw a robin today.
Yeah.
Woo!
We saw two robins.
We did see two robins, and they were on the ground looking for something to eat and flew up into the sky. Couldn't get a picture of it, but
We tried.
we did try. But we also have some beautiful flowers. We saw some little crocuses growing, and so that's what we're going to draw. So this is what I'm going to do in my nature study book. Julia's going to do it on her paper, and you do it on your paper. So I'm ready, and I want you to be ready too. I didn't bring the base out, but I think we can do it by memory.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, the first thing you're going to draw on your nature study page, whichever page is the next one for you, about halfway down, you're going to draw an oval, just like that. So Julia's going to draw her oval because we actually picked a flower. It's in my neighbor's yard, but I think she'll be okay with it. And then on either end, we're just going to take our marker. I'm doing a marker so you can see and make a little diagonal line down because we're actually drawing the vase, and then connecting that with a big round line to make the vase. So that's just actually the vase, and that can be any color that you want. We only picked one, so now that little flower is inside of our vase, and I'm going to draw its stem, straight line up, and then another straight line up. So it's kind of like looking like a straw. So Julia, as soon as you have your straight line going up, then you can do that and show it to the class. Now a crocus, this is a little teeny tiny white crocus, and it's so pretty. It has like 3 sections. They come right off of the top, almost like an oval, sort of like a U. And so you're gonna make sort of like a U right there and a U right next to it, and they do hang down. They don't go up and above the stem. They just hang down. I'm actually going to make my last one right on the stem. It looks exactly like that, like 3 little raindrops or 3 little teardrops, and that looks like the crocus. So now I'm going to make my vase green. I'm going to use my color pencil and just color it in. And my stem is also green. I'm going to get a different green, and Julia is going to color hers.
Yeah.
And then she's going to get ready, and she's going to do some reading for us. And then the crocus that I saw is actually white. They're oftentimes white. I'm going to make just a tiny yellow up here, and that will be our first sign of spring. I'm going to add a little more green here. And Juliet is doing a pink vase, so you just decide which kind your vase is. And you might even make your stem go down into the water a little bit. And then we're going to write crocus. C-R-O-C-U-S. And that is our first sign of spring. So Julia, show them your picture, and then I'm going to let you start reading A Nest for Celeste.
Okay.
And boys and girls, make sure you're getting outside and doing some walking and looking for robins and anything that's growing, a crocus, and there are also little buds on trees. And we'll try to draw some buds and a robin on another day for our nature study drawing picture.
All right, so here's my vase. I drew a little bit of water in it. Hope you can see it.
Okay, now there you go. Julia is going to read chapter 9 of Friends. just face the, you can just, actually, no, just hold it and just face it, and then you can show them the picture.
All right. Her heart beat furiously, like a million raindrops hitting a tin roof. The small cage had no places to hide in it, and Celeste felt exposed and vulnerable. Her body trembled, sickened with fear, as she watched Joseph putting on the other boot. "Why doesn't he eat me?" she squeaked nervously. But then Joseph sat down at his drawing desk. A large piece of paper lay stretched across the table right next to Celeste. She could see it on a penciled outline, the figure of a bird. Joseph began sketching what? Here is the picture of Celeste. Joseph began sketching what looked like to be leaves or flowers in the background. He would sketch, then rub out his lines, and sketch again and again, only to rub out his lines each time. He seemed frustrated, but so softly to Celeste as he worked. "You're good company, you know that, little one? I've been away from home so long, I just about forgotten what home is. But I know I miss it. Having you around is real nice." He rubbed his eyes. "You know how long I've been gone from home? Nearly 2 years." Celeste watched Joseph, who had stopped sketching. He was staring out the window, looking thoughtful. He seemed to have forgotten about her. Celeste searched again for an opening in the cage. "Mr. Audubon asked me along his trip as an assistant. I had just turned 13, Joseph said. "I wasn't too keen on going. I remember when we started out on the river. The day was cool and bright, smell of pine and tar in the air. That little flat boat was new, and the men were busy on the board, loading gear and supplies." Oh no! Loading gear and supplies, packing everything. I felt I was in everyone's way pretty useless. I'd only brought along a few things. A shirt, some drawing supplies, a scarf. I stowed them in a nook below decks behind a barrel of hardtack. Joseph reached between the twigs of the little cage and scratched Celeste under her chin. She froze, terrified, but Joseph's voice was soothing and even-toned. He looked wistfully at Celeste and rubbed her tummy. Celeste closed her eyes and held her breath. "I'm not really much more than a mouthful," she squeaked in a panic, waiting for death. But Joseph seemed to ignore her squeaks and continued to talk. "There was Ma standing on the dock, wearing a black dress. She smiled at me, but I could see she had been crying. She handed me a sack. 'Some biscuits and some ham,' she said. Someone yelled out, 'On board, lad!' and I jumped on." Joseph again stared out the window, lost in a daydream. Our little boat was pushed off, and I heard Mom say, "Lord be with him." She got smaller and smaller, and that made me fill up with panic, like every nerve in my chest was being twisted. My throat got all pinched and tight, like I had swallowed a walnut hole. And I could feel the tears coming on, hot and fierce. Just then, Mr. Audubon put his hand on my shoulder. "Prepare for high adventure, son," he said. Joseph turned from the window and looked at Celeste. "It's been an adventure, that's for sure, little one." He reached into the cage and gently took her out, cradling her in his arms, stroking her cheek. Celeste tried kicking and scrambling from his hands, but Joseph cupped her firmly. He found a peanut in his trouser pockets and gave it to her. She sniffed at it, perplexed, keeping her eyes on Joseph. Then, cautiously, she began to nibble. It was delicious. Celeste felt confused. It had been a long time since anyone had been kind to her. She had her family's nest many months ago, and Ileana and Trixie had only given her blows to the ears and bites on the back. Joseph continued. The boat got back into current, and we started to make time. The dock and my Ma disappeared around a bend in the river. A flock of geese flew over. There must have been hundreds of them, and the breeze picked up off the water. One of the men got out his fiddle and started playing a tune, and I started feeling better, not so homesick. It took us a while, but we finally made it downriver to New Orleans, and now here we are at Oakley Plantation. I tell you, little one, seems like I've been working hard ever since, helping Mr. Audubon look for birds and trying to paint backgrounds good enough. Sure would like to get home, but Ma says I can learn a lot from Mr. Audubon. that I can learn a trade. Folks pay good money for beautiful paintings, you know. You're good company, little one. He kissed Celeste lightly on the top of her head and then slipped her into his shirt pocket. She wiggled at first, but soon sat quietly waiting. The peanut in her tummy had calmed the bed. There she is in the pocket. Joseph went back to his work at his desk. She heard the sound of his pencil and eraser, but soon he became frustrated again. He jumped up from the table in exasperation. Mr. Audubon wants it perfect and I can't do it, he moaned. He peeked into his pocket. Little mouse, what am I to do? This is the picture. And that is the end of chapter 9 of Friend.
I'll tell him. We're gonna
Now, I want you guys to follow us out to where we found the crocuses, and we're gonna show you all of them. Do you want me to hold it?
Yeah, you go ahead and hold it.
All right, here we go. They're back in the alley, but they're really pretty. All right. Okay, I'll show you. Here are the crocuses. Here's what we drew. And you can see how they're hanging down. And if you peek one up, it has a little yellow in the inside.
Okay, boys and girls. Julia and Mrs. Gibson are signing off. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
guys.